Hey, Johnny Ballgame here. What's going on? You're not going to hire a basketball coach to fix your house up. You're not going to hire a gardener to operate on your hands. So why would you hire anybody but a solid professional when it comes to audio and visual production? You wouldn't. You're going to hire Brent Clapp. Brent Clapp Productions has a gorgeous studio, 4th Street in downtown LeGrand. I sign off on this 1,000%. I broadcast my show here every day. It's not some guy in the back room, although he once was. Brent has a qualified track record and a proven history in this business. Whatever production needs you may have are taken care of by pros, professionals. And not to mention, they're a Travel Oregon award-winning company. Yeah, stuff that they've produced has went on to win big-time media awards throughout the state. You don't have to go to the other side of the state. You don't have to do it on your own. You don't have to call a basketball coach. No. So listen to Ballgame. Brent Clapp Productions. It's where you need to be. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, EO Live TV, thanks for jumping in today with us. And it's always a pleasure to have Carrie with me. And Carrie, thanks for joining us in this update. It's been a couple of weeks since we talked about stuff, and it's always a pleasure to have you with me.
Thanks. It's always great to be here.
Yeah, we were together with the school town hall that happened. I think it was about a week ago tomorrow night, and spent quite a bit of time. The school district clearly has spent quite a bit of time talking about managing schools and how to get started again, you know, and that is happening across the nation. Every school is trying to figure out how to juggle this. But yesterday, I don't know if it was yesterday, there was some, and they talked about this in the town hall meeting last week, that they were hoping that a little bit more relaxed standards would come out for rural schools. And it sounds like that is part of what happened. Can you talk about what you see as, you know, what are you seeing are some of the changes that have come down, and how do you think that might affect us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that. It seems like that town hall was a really long time ago, and it actually wasn't even a week ago. So time definitely seems to have changed over these last few months. It seems like it's a very different thing. So yeah, we were definitely anticipating that there would be changes to the guidance that was being put out by the Oregon Health Authority and the Oregon Department of Education related to the metrics. I think, when people saw that initial round of metrics come out, I think sometimes when we actually get to looking at how we apply them locally and we realize how restrictive it is and how it may not apply to counties like ours where we have multiple school districts that are spread out and that kind of thing, I think that we had an opportunity to really go back to the drawing board with some leaders in our community and throughout the state and really try and work out some guidance for reopening schools that really makes it possible for us to have in-person learning, which we understand is being so critical for children and their families, and do that in a way that's safe. And I think that the new metrics that came out yesterday definitely find a solution where both is going to be possible for most of the schools in our county. And so again, I think I always expect that things could change again. So I don't know how set in stone all of this will be, but as of right now, they actually created a category for schools that are in a county with a population less than or equal to 30,000 people, which would be Union County. And so rather than looking at case rates, they're actually now looking at case counts. So if we have less than 30 cases in the 3-week period preceding school starting or in the whatever time period we're looking at, then that would be meeting the criteria for our county. Now, less than 5 cases have to have happened. Like if we had 5 cases in 1 week before school started, then that would be a reason for us to maybe not bring kids back to classrooms. But again, that 30 cases in 3 weeks, if you look at our metrics, we've met that. The other is that the local public health authority indicates that there's not community spread in the school catchment area. And so up to this point, we've been looking at community spread in a really narrow way. When we've talked about community spread, what we've met is the number of cases that we can link to another case. So, where if I were to get COVID-19, I could identify who I got it from. That's not really how they're defining community spread in this context. They're really asking public health to look at that number along with the number of cases that are in the community, whether or not we have testing capacity, whether or not the positivity rate of the test, which was something that was in the last round as well. And then also our ability to respond. Like, can we manage an outbreak in a school setting? Are we able to respond as quickly as we would need to if we found out that there was a case in a school? Can we manage that? And then also looking at the hospital capacity, which I think all along has been a really important metric that we've talked about. Again, we know that there's risk in the community. We know that the virus is spreading. One of the key things that we need to have in place is the ability to care for people that have a severe outcome. So it's really nice that we're looking at all of those factors when we're making a decision about return to school. And then for schools that have a enrollment of less than or equal to 250 students with no more than 10% of the students living outside of the catchment area, again, so that the number of students that you can have in a school, we're focused on the school, not on the district. And then obviously they need to comply with the Ready Schools Safe Learners guidance. This is the guidance document that has all of the recommendations and mitigations in place for how we go back to school and slow or stop the spread in that environment. So, it's very detailed. And I would just add that our schools have spent so much time this summer working very, very hard on these plans that the Oregon Department of Education and the Oregon Health Authority have asked them to create. They are so committed to having students be in school, and they're really committed to making sure that when students come back, they're safe. And so they've been working really hard on that. These metrics just came out yesterday. These revisions just came out yesterday. So I know that our schools are spending time really looking at them and working through how this impacts the individual districts. But based on my initial assessment, and again, I haven't had time to really work through the whole documents that came out yesterday, but I think it's likely that some of our schools can have students back in class here shortly. So it's a big change.
And that's awesome. And I know the school administrators here personally, and I know they've worked really hard to try and jump through the hoops. And I guess the scary thing is, though, and they have to have a plan for this, is so if we had 5 cases, as I'm watching the case count daily, we have some days where we have no new cases, and then we have some days where we have 2 or 3. So even having 5 cases in a week, even in a low infected area, which it kind of seems like we're doing pretty well, that is not, it wouldn't be hard to trip that trigger. And then they have to have a plan of going back to some kind of school that doesn't have people together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, and you've acknowledged this, they've spent so much time figuring this out, and I have no doubt that they're not only ready to have students come back into school, and they're ready to do that in a way where they can minimize transmission in that environment, but they're also ready to switch really quickly. So they're all, they've all prepared for this. I think, you've heard me say so many times on these chats that we have how important us continuing to follow the guidelines that have been put out are. And I think that as a community, we really do have a part to play in keeping kids in school once they go back. And I think that you're right. Like, even though the threshold for cases did increase and it gave us a little more room for getting kids back in school, we could go up to that number of 30 in 3 weeks pretty quickly. And so those physical distancing, wearing our face coverings, hand washing, staying home if we're symptomatic, again, that is so critical. Like, all of these things that we do out in the community really do make a difference in whether or not schools are going to be able to open, because we're still a few weeks out, and whether or not we get to keep kids in classrooms learning. And so I really just, again, remind folks to do this. And I know that over the next few weeks that I'll be really doing what I can to support the schools in operationalizing these plans that they put into place, because, the states put out the guidance, the states told them the steps they need to put into place, and they have plans for how they're going to do that. And so when we talk about really getting down to it and really getting kids back in school, we'll all be working to figure out how we make sure that we can put all of those protections in place and reduce the spread. And I think the other critical piece is going to be that we're able to respond quickly if we do identify a case in a school setting. And again, I know that our schools are going to be a great partner in helping us respond quickly and really try and navigate this as we all move into uncharted territories.
And you have kids at home, right? So you've been kind of juggling. I would imagine that's pretty challenging. I mean, to cope with everything that's going on and then trying to figure out childcare at the same time.
Yeah, I really empathize with everybody in our community that's trying to figure out what they're going to do in this next phase, because we're really in this, we've had summer break, and, people generally kind of have things under, they have their routines for everything. And I think this is really going to upend some people's routines. And so, I think, again, we're all in this together. We just kind of work together to figure it out. And we'll all do the best that we can, again, in this unprecedented situation.
Yeah. Well, so we talked about, you mentioned just continuing to do the things that we know that we need to do. And you guys have started a mask wearing campaign with some hashtags. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, you all know that I have talked a lot about face coverings. And I think that as we continue to learn more about this virus, and we're still learning more every day, we do have a lot of information that tells us that the face coverings do play a really key role in slowing and stopping the spread of COVID-19. And, it definitely doesn't replace all the other mitigations. They all are we have one toolbox and it has all of these tools. And when we use them all together, it really does help us reduce the spread of the virus. And so, I have been out in the community and I have seen people in our community embracing the face coverings. And, I know that we do this to protect those around us, and we do this to, care for other people. And one of the things that we're doing is that we've asked people in our community to show us pictures of them wearing their face coverings and share with us the reasons why they're doing that. So, I know we've talked about masks so many times, and for me, the reasons that I do this are very personal. I wear my mask to protect my family. I wear my mask to protect my coworkers. I wear my mask to protect the members of the community. I wear it to, keep the people that are working in the services that I need to survive, like, grocery stores. I wear it to keep them safe. And so, we've asked people to share pictures of themselves wearing their face coverings and sharing the reasons why they do that. And again, I feel like the people in our community have really embraced this. We really all care about each other, and people have shown us why they're wearing them. So if you go to our Facebook page or our Instagram, you can see some of the pictures that we've been posting, and we're asking people to use the hashtag CHD_INC or hashtag MOTD, which is Mask of the Day. And my understanding, and I haven't had time to go search the Mask of the Day, hashtag MOTD, but my understanding is that there are a lot of people out in the world that are hopping onto this hashtag and sharing the reasons why they wear the mask, and also highlighting some of the cool masks that people have, because I know there's a lot of unique and interesting ones out there. And so again, I think this is just a way for us to highlight the people in our community that are doing that, share the reasons why we do that here in Union County, why it's important to us as a community to wear our face covering. So if you go to our Facebook page or Instagram, you can check that out. You can share your own photo there. And if you are uncomfortable sharing it there, you can also, or not sure how to share it there, because I'm sure there are some people that may not even know about the hashtags and all of that stuff. So we can take your submissions via email, and which is info@chdinc.org. And we would be happy to share those as well. So anyway, again, just a way to remind ourselves why we're doing this.
And I have, so the information is up on the screen. You can't see it, but I haven't, the people that I have been around have been very compliant. I see very few situations where people are not being courteous to each other. And you can tell whether they're a big fan or not, but the vast majority of people I see are being sensitive to others, even if they don't buy into it being critical. They still are giving way to others, and I think that's very generous of us. That's the way our society should function and operate, is that we're sensitive to each other. And so for those people that don't know, when you do a hashtag, you simply in the comments, when you comment, you just put hashtag and put that information, and then you have the ability to search in Facebook or Instagram. You can search according to that hashtag, and different images or posts will come up. Now, is this Mask of the Day, hashtag Mask of the Day, MOTD, is that a national thing, or is that something you guys kind of have put together?
I think that is actually something that's far beyond Union County, and that we have tagged onto the Mask of the Day. But the CHD_INC is definitely ours. So that's the way that you can show that you're a Union County connected person, that you're connected to our community. But yeah, the Mask of the Day, I think, is far beyond us. So I'll have to go check it out. I haven't had time to do that, but people will have to go take a look and see all of the posts that are out there.
And I see more and more creative masks that are coming out. I mean, I saw where there's a company, you can submit a picture of actually the bottom part of your face smiling, and they'll put that on some kind of a mask so that people can see your smile. And a lot of people, a lot of people, there's certainly some argument that face shields are not quite as effective, but they're certainly better than nothing. And there's a lot of people that are kind of navigating that with face shields also. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, and I think, again, we're still learning more about this virus. We're still learning more about what works and what doesn't work. I would say that there's definitely information that leads us to believe that the face masks or the cloth face coverings may be more effective. And I think you can, if you just think about how they protect other people and why, that would make sense. That if you're wearing the face shield, it may be more likely that droplets could come out versus the cloth face covering or the face mask, where it really does stop the droplets from going out into the air. But I think that the face shield has a really important purpose, because I really want to acknowledge, as I have before, that not everybody can wear a cloth face covering or a face mask. And there are very valid reasons why people may not feel comfortable wearing those, or literally may not be able to wear them. So the face shield is a great option. And I think the other thing is that we know sometimes people need to be able to see our mouths to be able to effectively communicate with us. So again, there are going to be situations in schools where a face shield is absolutely 100% the best option. And it's definitely better than no covering at all. So the key with the face shield is that you really try and get something that covers your whole face, wraps around your face. And again, the idea is that those droplets aren't being spread into the air where somebody else could come into contact with them.
Right. And I've experienced that where I've bought something at a store or something, and they're having a mask and they're behind a shield, and they're trying to explain something about the product to me. And that can be very challenging to understand. So even being able to see someone's mouth as they're saying the words, even though we don't really realize it, a lot of our interpretation of what someone's saying is visual, being able to see their lips and their mouth. So yeah. And I want to last week, a couple of weeks ago, when we talked about this, there was a point that George made after the fact that I thought was really good, and that is that people with particular health conditions are not obligated to wear a mask, but at the same time, they're not. That does not mean they're just free to be able to go into the store without a mask, if I'm understanding that correct. The store, if you contact the store, the idea is that the store then will make some accommodations for you to bring you the product or whatever the case might be. But am I stating that correctly? And maybe you could clarify, because just because you have an underlying condition that might exempt you from wearing a mask, it does not mean that you are free to go into any business without a mask.
Yeah, I mean, the businesses are really required to follow the guidance that's been put out by the Oregon Health Authority, but they're also required to make accommodations. And so again, making accommodations doesn't necessarily mean that they allow you to come into the store, but they definitely are required to create a solution that works for you given your individual situation.
Good. Thanks for that clarification. So let's talk about the other services that you guys have, that you're able to help people that have COVID and meet their needs, and kind of talk about how that's going again, and kind of sum up for those people that might not know about the services. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that happens when we're managing or trying to slow the spread of COVID-19, we went from having everybody stay at home to really focusing on having people stay at home that either had the illness or were in close contact with somebody that did and are really likely to develop it. And that's so we do that by isolating people that have the virus or quarantining people that are in those high risk categories. When we do that, we're asking people to basically stay away from everybody else for 10 or more days, depending on your situation. It's a pretty long period of time, and people usually have needs during that time, basic needs like groceries or medicines, and not all of us have somebody that can step in and help us out with that. It also may impact our ability to meet some of our other basic needs. So our ability to pay certain bills if we're not able to earn income during that time. There are all kinds of potential impacts when we ask somebody to do that. And so as a part of our work to respond to COVID-19, we have what we call wraparound services. And it's basically providing assistance and supports to people that are isolating and quarantining to help them be successful in that. And so we have a coordinator who's really the key point of contact for all of the resources that are available in Union County. And then we've had a large number of community partners step up and basically be available to help support individuals that have needs due to their situation. And so, we can help people get signed up for health insurance. For example, one of our great organizational partners, Neon, can provide assistance with that. Community Connections of Northeast Oregon, obviously they provide a very, very large range of services for members of our community. Food bank supports, rental assistance, energy assistance. They have a large array of programming that they may be able to use to help folks that are in this situation. Coordinator really kind of holds that information and then connects them with the resources and support that they might need to help them isolate or quarantine. And so I've just named 2 organizations, but there's a really large group of folks at the table. We have a number of organizations that are both local and even outside of our community that are able to help us support people that may have, their primary language information given to them in a different language. We have a large number of organizations, both locally and outside of Union County, that are willing to step in and help with that. So again, just really comprehensive range of services and supports to help people during this unprecedented time.
Do you have any stories or feedback of how people have been helped by that? Or have you guys gotten any good stories back from people that really needed help?
Gosh, of course, you're going to put me on the spot with that. And I'm not going to, well, it's fine. I'm not going to be able to think of a specific example, but, I know that our partners have distributed a really large number of food boxes. I know there have been a couple of situations where somebody had a need for a medication and there were barriers to getting it. So we were able to help problem solve through that, and get them the medication that they needed in a timely manner. I know that I think I remember hearing stories of people, they couldn't get to the pharmacy to pick up their medication. Medication's really critical. I know that we had one of our partners that worked really hard to distribute masks to members of our community and worked to put those in different food boxes and really was very creative in getting those resources out to the community because, the governor mandated masks. And if you don't have one, it's really hard for you to meet that requirement. So again, I think it's just, it's hard to, I think the thing that's been really, it's hard to imagine when you might need this support. And until you're in the situation, it's really hard to know what kind of help you might need to be able to do what public health is asking you to do. And so I think the great thing about this is that if you identify a need, you can call up our WRAP coordinator, you can connect with them, and they can help you navigate the systems that you might not even be aware of because you've never been in this situation before. I mean, a lot of the people that are going to be asked to isolate or quarantine may have never been in a situation like this. And so that person, they're like, oh gosh, I need X, Y, or Z. And that person can say, well, hey, I know of this great resource that might be able to help you. So again, I think it's just it's hard to know what might come up, but that resource is there to help people.
So certainly then people could email that email or call that phone number, even if they don't know for sure who to call. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and they can be directed to the right people who can meet their needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Do you have anything else that we need to touch on today before we go, Carrie?
I don't think so. I'm really grateful for all of the hard work that our community has done to follow the recommendations. And I feel like it really is reflected in the numbers that you see being reported every day. I mean, I feel like we're taking it seriously as a community. And I think it gets really hard to keep taking it seriously. But we've been doing this for a really long time. And I understand that people really want to go back to a more normal life, and that it can be kind of tiring to continue trying to follow all the recommendations. But I think that we're not done with this, and things can change really quickly. And so I really just want to encourage people to stay the course. And I think it's going to be especially important as we look forward to getting students in classroom, and just really, remembering that there are things we can do to keep each other safe. And that, if we do the physical distancing really well, and if we're really diligent about washing our hands and wearing our face coverings, and, of course, most importantly, staying home if we're symptomatic, we really do have control over those numbers. And we really do have control over what happens next. So again, thank you for Union County for your efforts. And I hope you can continue to do it, even though I know it can be really hard sometimes.
Well, and I think that certainly for me, the outbreak that we had kind of brought the seriousness of the situation to LeGrand. And so, my motto in life has been, don't tell me no, just tell me how, and I think that we've kind of moved over a period of time from no, don't leave your home, don't travel, don't, and now we're kind of moved into a place of this is if you want to get back to some kind of normal life, even though it's a new normal, this is how you need to do that. Yeah. And I don't know, the people that I see, the people that I know in Union County, they're figuring out the how part of it, Yeah. And so I think that the numbers are reflective, or the lack of numbers, the lack of new cases is reflective of that people generally are compliant, and they're trying, and they're understanding. So yeah. I think you're right. So, well, thank you for helping manage this. I know that I can't imagine the number of times you've talked about the same issues over and over and over again. But we really appreciate you being at the forefront. Those of you that are in CHD and at Grand Ronde Hospital, and the emergency task force people that have come together, to try and keep us safe, our county commissioners, our city officials, it's just, I really appreciate the effort that everyone has done. So. Yeah,
me too. I agree. And it's definitely, we're all in this together, and there are a lot of people that are really working hard to keep our community safe. So I'm grateful as well. And thank you for letting me come here and share information.
Good. All righty. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, Carrie.
Sounds great.
And thank you, EO Live TV, for tuning in. We appreciate when you tune in, appreciate you sharing this, and always want to thank our sponsors, Grand Ronde Hospital and EONI, for their support and allows this kind of thing to happen.